In this lesson video, we are going to discuss about viewport shading modes. In a 3D viewport editor, you can find the viewport shading mode buttons at the right top area. You can see there are 4 circular icons up here. This is the wireframe mode. This is the solid mode, look development or material preview mode, and finally the rendered mode. If you click on the left one, or the wireframe mode, the objects in the viewport will be displayed as wireframes. Wireframe simply means that Blender will not display any faces or surfaces on the 3D models. We can only see the edges of them. Now if I click on the second one, this is the solid mode, which is the default mode when we first open Blender. That is why now the 3D models look solid just like before, okay? Besides the buttons up here, we can also access different viewport shading modes via a shortcut, which is the Z letter key. This will open up the viewport shading pie menu. We already discussed this briefly before, but now I just want to explain that we can actually use 2 different methods to access pie menus in Blender. The first method is by pressing and then releasing the Z letter key, and then you hover your mouse and then click OK. The other method is to hold the Z letter key, not releasing it. And while holding the Z letter key, we can hover the mouse cursor on top of any of these options. Now, you don't even need to be on top of the buttons. You can just move the mouse slightly to the direction you want to target and then release the Z letter key. The second method is actually much faster to perform, but it does require a bit of practice, okay? To play around with the settings, notice at the far right, you will see this caret button or a triangle-like button. This button works contextually based on what shading mode you are in. So for example, if you have the wireframe mode active and then click on this caret button, all you can see here are the options related to the wireframe mode only. All the other options will be hidden. If I have the solid mode active, and then click on this caret button again, then all you can see in here are the options related to the solid shading mode. I'm sure you get the idea here. Now, before we continue, I need to explain that all of these viewport shading options only affect how objects displayed in the 3D viewport. They will not affect the final rendering. So, if I set this to wireframe mode again, for example, then open the shading option panel again, and change any settings down here, this does not mean that when I render the scene, the final result will be like this wireframe view in here. No, how 3D objects look when rendered will be controlled by their materials, not the viewport shading option. We will cover about materials later. For now, again, you just need to know that these settings only affect how you see objects in the viewport and will not affect the final rendering result, okay? Let's go back to the wireframe mode again and open up the shading option panel. The color option will determine the color of the wireframe. If it is set to single, it means it will use one color for all 3D objects in the scene. Currently, it is set to black. Now you might be wondering, what if I want to change the color of the wireframe in this single color mode? Well, this will be a more advanced topic about UI theme editing in Blender. But just to keep things simple, this color is not determined per object basis, but it is determined by the theme color. So to change it, you need to go to the Edit menu, Preferences, and then choose Theme. You will see a 3D View section. And then you will see this wire color option here. If you click on it to change the color, bring this value up so we can see the colors. And click on this area to choose any color you like. You can see the color of the wireframes change. Now, I actually don't need to change this color, so I just press the reset button up here, okay? The next color option is object color. This is where we can specify the wireframe colors per object basis. For example, we want to make this object to have a red wireframe color. To do that, we need to click on it so it becomes the active object. Then in the Properties editor, find the Object tab. It has this square-like icon, at least in my Blender version I am using. Then find the Viewport Display section. You will see a color option in here. Click on it and change this to red color, for example. If we click on empty space to deselect everything, we can see the wireframe color is now red, okay? The next color option is random, which essentially will give each object a unique random color. Now this option can be very helpful when you only need to see the objects more clearly without having to tweak each object's color one by one. Next is the background color options. The theme option will use the color defined by the UI theme. So if you want to change it, you need to change the theme color just like how we did before when we changed the wireframe single color. Next is the world option. Basically, this will use the settings from the world properties. If you want to change it, you need to go to the Properties editor, find the World Properties tab, which has a globe-like icon. In here, you will see two different settings. This surface setting will determine the world color in the final rendering. This is not what we need. What we need is the other color setting, which is located in the Viewport Display section. This color setting will only affect the viewport display. If we change the color to blue, for example, we can see the background change because we set it to use the world setting, okay? To reset the color, you can just right-click on it and then choose Reset to Default Value. The last option is the Viewport option. This is basically just like the world option, but we can change the color directly up here without having to go back and forth to the Properties editor, okay? Next is the X-ray option. Turning this on will make the hidden edges visible, and turning this off will make them hidden again. Basically, it is the same as turning on or off the X-ray toggle button up here. But down here, we have more control over adjusting the visibility level of the hidden edges. The more we drag this to the right, the less obvious the lines are. And if you drag this all the way to the left, the hidden lines will look solid again. The outline option will add additional lines at the border or at the object's silhouette. This works best if you set the color contrast to the background color. So this is with the outline, and this is without. Okay guys, so that is the first viewport shading mode, which is wireframe mode. In the next lesson, we will cover the rest of the modes.